I've been quoted saying before that investing shouldn't be sexy. It should be exciting. It should be stable, consistent, and over a long period of time. And you're right. Beyond, just the get rich quick stuff, it is going to take a long time. And so the focus is not perfection. The focus is not getting a bunch of money overnight. The focus should be consistency. Yeah, I think, first of all, one of the biggest parts of my work is the discussion of systemic oppression when it comes to personal finance. Unfortunately, a lot of the conversation with personal finance experts more traditionally has been, oh, if you're not a millionaire, you're not working hard enough. Or it's not an acknowledgement of any of the systemic factors. And I say this in my book and my podcast, Financial Feminist. The vast majority of how you manage money has actually nothing to do with your own willpower or your own skills. It has everything to do with a system that exists to, unfortunately, uphold racism, ableism, homophobia, sexism. And so, a $1 trillion student debt crisis, rising house prices, a stagnating minimum wage, all of these have lack of paid family leave. All of these issues have a much bigger impact on your money than, your day-to-day choices, whether you know how to budget or not. So that's the first thing I always like to acknowledge in any advice that we give, is to give yourself a lot of grace and understanding that a lot of these things are outside of our control, and only through systemic change do these things actually get better. In terms of being entrepreneurial with your own finances, one thing is to always think about your career, again, as your own business, even if you're not running a business. If a career situation is no longer working for you, you're allowed and encouraged to find something different. I see this especially with women, as we believe this loyalty will pay off. We believe, okay, staying in this job and just keeping my head down and doing what I need to do will pay off. It doesn't work like that, right? You have to be your own hype person at work, right? I said that before, but in a way that's not obnoxious. There's a way to call out your accomplishments and to call out, I did this, this was, me plus the team. It's really important that you acknowledge and showcase to your superiors when you're doing great work. And if that work is not being acknowledged anymore or not being rewarded, it's time to find a new situation. Job hopping is, kind of been this dirty word or this dirty idea for many years. And frankly, job hopping is one of the only ways you're going to be able to get ahead. It is okay if you're only staying in jobs for 2 years in this current landscape. So that's the first thing, is, really highlighting your own accomplishments at work, making sure that you're being compensated fairly. And if you're not, find a situation that will compensate you fairly, as well as diversifying your income as much as you can. I talk about high yield savings accounts a lot in our work. And a lot of people don't think of a savings account as another form of income, but it is. It's passive income. If you can put your money, even if it's a small amount of money, in a bank account with a higher interest rate, you can start growing your wealth in a way that isn't, as active as, getting another job or doing a side hustle, especially if you don't have time. The other way, I think, to be entrepreneurial is to think about, in addition to that high yield savings account income, what are ways that you can increase your income beyond just traditional saving? Again, I see this with women specifically, as we are very good at saving money. We've been taught to save money, to, again, budget and coupon clip, but we have not been taught the things that actually build wealth, which is investing. I mentioned this in my book, but this, a lot of the personal finance advice and information for women for many years is, here are 5 meals you can make under $5. And for men, it's here's 5 hot stocks right now, right? For women, it's shrink. It's stop spending money. It's the manicure and the latte are the reason you're not rich, and shrink yourself, right? And deprive yourself of all joy. But the advice for men is, how do you increase your income, right? How do you negotiate your salary? How do you invest? How do you purchase real estate? And one of the things I really encourage people, especially women, to do is, take ownership of your own money beyond just the budgeting and the day-to-day finances. Actual wealth building happens through investing accounts like a 401k, like an IRA. That's how we actually build long-term lasting wealth, to give ourselves a foundation where we're not only sustained right now, but we're sustained for the rest of our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really great advice, and very just evident points there, but people don't talk about it enough, especially the kind of saving and cutting back versus investing. I've seen that. I'm sure that my peers have seen that as well.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. It's definitely there. I'm glad that people are talking about it. Now, you've built part of your brand around her first 100K. Obviously, it was a goal of yours to save that by the age of 25. Charlie Munger, he's a big investor, Berkshire Hathaway, everyone knows the name. He's famously said that the first 100K is the toughest to earn, but once you pass that financial milestone, you can ease off the gas a bit because it gets a bit easier to build wealth. What are your thoughts on that philosophy? Is it true?
I think it's very true. It's this general idea that like once you have a little bit of money that can work for you, it's, you get to coast a little bit. You're not like crawling up the hill, right? You get to kind of walk flat for a while. Or at least like the uphill climb isn't as steep. Compound interest, right, is when your interest earns interest earns interest. It's what makes debt suck so hard and what makes investing so magical, right? And so if you have 100K, it's a good amount of money where you can actually start seeing compound interest work for you in a really sustainable way. My 100K at 25, if I never contributed another penny, will be over $1.6 million by the time I retire at traditional retirement at 65. And the vast majority of people listening or reading might not be 25 anymore and thinking, is it too late for me? Compound interest works regardless of how much money you have and regardless of your age. So whether you're 18 or 88, compound interest works for you. Whether you have $5 or $5 million, compound interest works for you. But it does not work for you if you don't opt in. This is what I see with women is, again, this fear of investing that we've been told investing's scary, it's intimidating, it's risky, it's not for you. Oh, you should give your money to a Wall Street Chad to invest for you. It's what continually keeps women from growing their wealth. And even, 100K is where you really start seeing things to move. Even if you have $5,000, $10,000, you start to see compound interest work for you. And again, in high yield savings accounts, that's what compound interest is doing, just at a lesser rate too. So yeah, I am a subscriber to the, first 100K is the hardest. That's part of why the brand is called Her First 100K. And it's called Her First 100K because that 100K can be whatever you want it to be. Maybe it's 100K a debt paid off. Maybe it's 100K earned or invested or earned in a business or saved or net worth, right? Her First 100K is this idea of, if we can get you started with the basics, with whatever that 100K means for you, it becomes a lot easier after that. And if you can manage $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, you can manage $1, $5, $10 million once you understand the basics.
I think one of the challenges is that people want this to happen quickly.
Yeah.
Unless you inherit a windfall or win the lottery, you're not going to be rich overnight. For young Americans, 100K might seem like a really long way off. Yep. And then perhaps they're tempted by kind of get rich quick schemes or things on social media where people say, invest in this stock and you'll get, 10x returns, 100x returns. Why is it important to be patient and to have a plan?
I love this question because unfortunately it isn't talked about enough. We have, 4 million followers on social media, and that's where we're connecting with our audience most. And I am battling constantly against, all of the really uneducated information out there that is talking about, this hot stock or indexed universal life insurance as an investment, which frankly are just scams. I think we were starting to really gain steam in 2021, like 2020, 2021. And we saw what happened in 2021 with this, AMC, GameStop boom. And the interesting thing that happened is a lot of, even the money media conversation around it was like, oh my gosh, all these, people in basements got crazy rich. But the story was not about the vast majority of people who chose to invest in that and actually lost money. Investing is not a day-to-day thing. It is not something to think about over days or weeks or months or even 1 year. It's years, if not decades. And you're right. That's a long time. It's a really it takes consistency and patience more than it takes you picking the hot stock. I really don't invest in individual stocks. That's not what I'm about. I have better things to do with my time, like watch Timothy Chalamet speaking French YouTube compilations. Like that's where I'd rather spend my time than trying to figure out the next hot stock. And even the people we pay, right? We have over $1 billion financial industry that is upheld on people's beliefs that we can pick a hot stock. I cite this in my book. Cats are better at picking stocks than professional stock pickers. Like they've done the experiments. The people who are paid millions and billions of dollars to pick stocks are bad at their job, because this is not a immediate thing. This is not a short-term thing. This is a long-term thing. I've been quoted saying before that investing shouldn't be sexy. It should be exciting. It should be stable, consistent, and over a long period of time. And you're right. Beyond, just the get rich quick stuff, it is going to take a long time. And so the focus is not perfection. The focus is not getting a bunch of money overnight. The focus should be consistency.